Good evening, saints. So good to be with you all. My brother Henry and I coming to you on this midweek service, House of Many Waters. We want to thank all of you for your faithfulness and your giving, your prayers, and of course your attentiveness of joining us every single Wednesday. Before we get started, Gil, you want to put that post up real quick? I want to remind you this coming Sunday, December the 7th, is it, Henry?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah, right after service. That'll be from 2 to 6.
5.
5?
2 to 6, sorry. 2 to 6.
Let's vote.
Sir?
Let's vote. 2 to 6. All right. Looking for it up there, but it's not up there. But that's good.
Yeah.
Having a good time of fellowship, having a lot of tables with different things that people are bringing forth. We've got some food trucks and just a good time of fellowship. You know, during the Christmas holidays, everybody gets busy. People are traveling, visiting families. Families are coming in, back and forth. So we just invite all of you to be with us if you can. That's this coming Sunday, December the 7th, right after service, between 2 and 6. Hope you can join us. All right. Let's get started, Henry. We're on the power of image, part 4. If you've missed the other 3, check them out. That's the power of image. This is the 4th one. Now, here's the thing, Henry. You know, I was thinking about this earlier. With all of our social media, people that have different veins of thought, imaginations, I mean, you name it. And social media has brought, I think, more damage than good. Because where are they coming from? So I guess what we have to look at is simply this. What is the standard?
Very good.
You know, people say, well, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, or I don't think that my thoughts are off. You know, who's to say what's right or what's wrong? So if we look at the standard, that word standard simply means a level of quality or something that you attain by really what's right. Now, if we remember back in Matthew 17 at the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses and Elijah show up. Now, of all the people to show up, cloud of witnesses, why those 2 men? But if we remember Matthew 5:17, Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy the law, nor the prophets, but I have come to fulfill the law and the prophets. So when Peter's, you know, tried to put Jesus on the same level as the law and of the prophets, they heard a voice from heaven.
Right.
He said, this is my son. Hear him. Don't listen to the law. Don't listen to the prophets. Those were shadows, types, and pictures of the one that was to come. So because he's fulfilling it, listen to him. So, you know, we have so many religions, denominations. And of course, I get this question all the time. How do we know which is the right one? Well, John 14:6 tells us very clearly. Jesus said, the 7 I ams in the Gospel of John, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am life.
Yeah.
So if you looking for a standard, it's not by man's opinion. We have to go back to the origin, the book of origin, which is Genesis, first 2 chapters. That's our pattern. Like in Exodus 25, God tells Moses, I'm going to send you the pattern, the blueprint. When I give it to you, everything will be for you to either cover with gold, bronze, silver. The skin that I want you to put on the covering, you put it exactly the way I want it. Everything would have its height, width, and breadth. That was a shadow. Now, in that tabernacle, you go to John 1:14, and the Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. That word dwelt in the Greek is tabernacle. So the whole thing that God gave Moses Exodus 25 was all this pattern I'm going to give you. Its height, its width, its depth, its covering, its color, everything, its texture. It was all so that I may dwell with you. So we look at Jesus. And in Hebrews 10, he says, Father, sacrifice and offering you never desired, but a body you have formed for me. So the standard is the Son of Man. That's who we look at. And by that of the Son of Man, you have to ask yourself, okay, my, not just lifestyle, but my thinking, my imaginations, my conclusions, do they come from Him? And if not, it can't be the Father's will. Because He's the one that we are to look at. So in all of this, Henry, as far as the standard, now you have people that don't believe there's a God. But yet in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, it tells you so clearly that the very things that have been created, and I'll be reading out of Romans chapter 1 in a minute, is proof that there is a God. Science has come to the conclusion there is a God. All the molecular things that come together, the very fearful and wonderful body that we're in, that alone knows that we don't come from any other vein. And after everything we see in the first 2 chapters of Genesis, again, we've said it before, at least 10 times, God says, now, everything was according to its own kind. An apple tree does not try to produce oranges.
Right.
It does by nature what it's created to do. The animal kingdom, creation. A monkey doesn't try to become a horse. It naturally monkeys around. That's what it is, so to speak. And yet, the only creature of all creation that is made in the express image of the Father does not know and is still looking for who they are. Isn't that amazing?
That is,
A monkey is not trying to fly.
right.
A horse doesn't try to become a fish. And yet, we are still confused on not only who we are, but whose we are. Where do we come from? So what I want to share tonight, Henry, is that in creation of all creatures, mankind is the only one that tries to be something he was never meant to be. It's crazy.
It is.
When you think about it, and yet we're the ones that are in His image. Now, here's a question. To what depth or how low has humanity gone because of a lack of understanding? Remember the parables in Matthew 13? The sower and the seed.
Yes.
Now, the sower is throwing the same seed, the same amount of seed, even the seed on the wayside, even though he knew it was not going to take anything. Nothing would be taken, no growth, no fruitfulness, no nothing. And yet the sower sowed the same seed on the wayside as he did on the good ground. And there were 4 soils.
Yeah.
But yet you don't see him ripping off, well, you're not going to do this, you're not going to follow me, you're not going to believe in me, so therefore I'm going to retain some of the seed and put it over here. No, he gave every ground the same amount of seed. Therefore, man is without excuse. But the whole parable or parables that are speaking about the kingdom, because all the parables that you find in the Gospels, Jesus is defining to us the meaning of the kingdom, not church. Because even church is only mentioned twice, and they still don't have the right definition. The church, according to Matthew 16, when Peter said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And the Lord's response was this, "Simon Bar-Jonah, flesh and blood has not revealed this unto you, but my Father, which is in heaven." But that word church is governing council. It is the governing council of the kingdom. So the way that the church ministers on disciplinary things is not the kingdom.
Right.
It's totally off. But again, going back to the parables about the kingdom, I love it when the Lord tells the disciples, look, because they asked him, "Lord, why do you do that? Why do you speak to them in parables?" He said, "Because it's for you to know naturally, but it's not for them." Now, if you continue to read there in Matthew 13, it says that the reason why they are that way, that they have eyes, but they don't see. They have ears they can't hear, or hearts to understand, is because they've grown dull. So when man begins to get to the point of being dull, that word even in the Greek means lazy. Some of us, in our time of confusion, we've heard the term, well, church, it's not for me. This whole God thing, this whole Jesus on the cross, it's not for me. Don't invite me to your church, I'll just mess it up. Well, join the rest of the mess ups. We're all here together, a family. But when man becomes dull of hearing, that word is lazy. So man gets to a point, and I remember, Henry, when I first started playing golf. Next thing you know, all my apparel had to do with golf. My caps with golf. Before, I didn't know what those things were. None of those things, none of those terms, that language, it was nothing that I even cared for. My brother invited me. I went one time, one swing, and I got bit. I mean, every week. Then I bought a Harley. My gear changed. Got the Harley jacket. Everything was according to what I was identifying with. So here's the problem, saints. What are you identifying with? But before we begin to even go into that of inheritance or the things that God has given unto us, it all starts with image. Because I told you in those first 2 chapters, we find where image is birthed. That's where you understand about your image. So in verse 26, he blows it away. Now that everything is according to its own kind, now let us, Father, Son, and Spirit, make man in our image and in our likeness. And I love Luke 19:10. Jesus says, "I, the Son of Man." Now, when you first hear Son of God, well, you're thinking somewhere far away, this son of this God that we don't know. But when Jesus said Son of Man, I relate to that because I'm a man. So I, the Son of Man, have come to seek and save that which was lost. Well, when you boil it down and you go back to Genesis 1:26, that is image. It's not that Adam was lost. Adam lost the image. And we've said it before, the importance of the image is to be fruitful, to multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. So when Adam lost the image, he's walking with God, co-creating with God, on the same level of language, same level of understanding. God didn't say, okay, look, this is how you say this. Oh, and that's how you say that. Adam was speaking so fluently, like it was natural. But in essence, we're going to read here in Romans chapter 1, taking us back to creation, Adam and Eve. This is how it's supposed to be. Walking with God is not supposed to be a difficult thing.
Right, exactly.
It is the natural thing that this body, created in his image and in his likeness, we should still have that walk in the cool of the day like Adam did before the fall. That's what he came to restore. So what we're looking at here is that where do ungodly lifestyles come from? We look around and everybody in their own group, their own sect, say, well, we have the way. Follow us. And because of a lack of understanding, people fall for it. They think because of the number, well, there must be something here. Look how many are in this particular group. But that's not true. So what I want to show tonight, Henry, let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 16. And look what he says here. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. In other words, I'm not embarrassed to be like the Son of Man.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed to worship the way that I worship. I'm not embarrassed to have a life of forgiveness, a life of love, of grace, of mercy. I'm not ashamed. That's what he's saying. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes. Now, where it says here the Jew first, then also the Greeks, people think, oh, see, it's about Israel. No, Galatians tells you very, very clearly. Galatians 3:16, and in the sixth chapter as well, that God's Israel is Christ. Abraham's seed, not seeds, Abraham's seed is Jesus, the Christ. So it meant that every shadow, type, and picture came to the Jew first. Now, let's go on after that. For in it, the righteousness of God is revealed, faith to faith, as it's written, the just shall live by faith. Now, here's where I want people to understand. God is not a God of wrath. Now, I'm going to explain verse 17 to you. God's a loving God. You must come to the conclusion that God is a good God, period. His mercy endures forever. His mercy is new every morning. So the nature of God does not change. So what's he talking about here in verse 18? For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven. Here's your answer. Against ungodliness and unrighteousness. Those are not people. Those are lifestyles. Those are bondages. So the wrath of God is released. He's going to tell you why. The unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. So when anyone says, look, this is my life, and I do with it what I want, well, that's a wrong statement to begin with. Because God gave you life by reason. You didn't ask for it. So whenever we get into a place of ungodliness or unrighteousness, it's natural for man to say, you know, man, I'm so far from reality.
Yeah.
I'm so far from what might be true. Look at my life. Look where I'm at. Look where my conclusions has brought me. So as soon as they try to get some type of savvy in their mind, their ungodliness and their unrighteous state suppresses that truth. So I remember times where, I'd pass by a religious place and I'd do a sign or whatever. It's like, man, maybe I need a change of life. Nah, forget it. Well, my very unrighteousness and ungodliness would suppress the truth from naturally coming out because we are created in His image. It's not something that you put on. It's something that you've been in from eternity.
Right.
John 14:20. At that day you will know, I am in my Father, you are in me, and I'm in you. You find the Trinity and yourself right in the middle of it. That was your beginning. That was your origin. Like I've said before, when you do not understand origin, abuse will always be present. Number one, for your own life. You begin to abuse your life when you understand your origin. Where do you come from? What did he tell Jeremiah? Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 and 5. Jeremiah, when he's trying to excuse himself, look, son, I called you, sanctified you, ordained you before you were in your mother's womb. 2 Timothy 1:9, when Paul tells Timothy, Timothy, remember this, you were called with a holy calling before time even began. That is our origin. So when you don't understand origin, you're going to abuse everything in your life, even abuse others. You understand that? So the reason why the Lord wants us to stay away from things that are ungodly or unrighteous is because it suppresses the truth that's already laying inside of us. Now let's continue here. Look at verse 19. Because what may be known, I'm going to say that again. What may be known. Look at this, saints. Watch this. Is manifest in them. God has shown it to them.
Yeah.
Our very wiring, our very framework, the way that God has fearfully and wonderfully, as Psalm 139 says, the way we are created, we're already wired up. When we are born, that wiring is all together.
Yeah.
So again, notice, what may be known of God is manifest, which means it's apparent. It's evident. Also, it means in the Greek, it's plainly recognized. A child, as it's growing up, does not need to look for a book to find his identity.
Right.
It's already within him. And God is there just bringing him on, saying, just get closer, just come on, and I'm going to show you not only who you are, but whose you are. So I love verse 19 because what may be known, right? People say, look, how do I know if there's a God? Because you're already wired to believe it. But you put so many other things in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, that you become lazy. Why look for someone that I'm already satisfied in where I'm at? Yeah, and they become blind. Now, verse 20. For since the creation, this is talking about Adam and Eve. Now pay close attention. He's taken us back to the garden, the only merging place of heaven on earth. That was his will from the very get-go. And Jesus reminds us in Matthew 6, 9, and 10. May your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So when Adam and Eve were placed in the Garden of Eden, which is the garden of pleasures, so now Adam, take this. This is the origin. I put you in the very midst of it. In 6 days of creation, you were the last thing created because everything before you, you shall be able to have dominion. Now, so here we have the earth with everything plush. Every color, every seed, every tree, every shrub, everything was in perfect harmony. Mm-hmm. Now, he brings the one created in his image to run the whole thing. That's amazing. So he's taking us back in verse 20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. So we make it so hard Oh God, where are you?
Yeah.
You know, why are you so far from me? Why can't you hear my cry? I said, look, I know your thought before you even think it.
Right.
How far can he be? He's not. Every single son or daughter is created in his likeness and in his image. So he's taken us back to Adam and Eve. Now watch this, saints. Take it to the very beginning. And he says here, again, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that man is without excuse. And how many excuses have we brought before the throne? And yet, we're wired up. We come from his bosom. Yet, when we come into this world, we're so bombarded. That's why I love Galatians. It says, though he may be an heir, the Father sends him guardians and tutors to bring him to the understanding of his inheritance, lest he remain a slave. Look at how many human beings are in slavery. They're not walking in sonship, but in slavery because the stewards and those that were tutors never taught them the truth. No, you can be this. You can be that. In the animal kingdom, an animal's born and they're doing what they're created to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't know anything else. Yet we're born and we're now given opportunity to our children. Well, what do you want to be? So what darkness have we lowered ourselves to? I mean, and again, I am not saying what you think that I'm saying. I'm just reading to you out of Scripture. He says that there again, since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, where man is without excuse. Now look at verse 21. Although they what? They knew God. Wait a minute. You're telling me, you're taking me back to the origin of creation, and that the way that Adam was created, and I get this all the time. Well, man is the dominant one. The woman is the second. You know, all these lies. No, when God spoke to Adam, where was Eve? Right inside of him. So, at this verse, Henry, because although they, Adam and Eve, knew God, they did not glorify him as God. So, people today who are saying, now we've said it before, there's two kinds of people, believers and pre-believers. They're coming, just like us. But what I want us to understand here is that the verse goes on and says, they were not thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. That word futile, it means, Henry, vain and empty. How many people this very hour are out there walking in a state of being futile? Vain thoughts, their minds are empty, and yet they are the glory of God manifested on this earth.
Yes.
They don't know who they are, therefore they don't know where they're going or what even they're doing. They have no direction. But it goes on, verse 22. Professing to be wise, they become fools. And they changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, birds and four-footed animals, and creeping things.
Yeah.
That God gave them up to their uncleanliness. Now, here's the way I understand, Henry. God's given us a will. You have a will to follow him or to reject him. He doesn't want a bunch of robots or a bunch of slaves. He wants to be a father unto us. But when we're not understanding the whole thing about creation, about our unity, our origin, where we come from, where it all started, then our minds will become futile. So look what he mixes it up with. And exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, birds, four-footed animals, and creeping things. God creates man and says, now let us make man in our likeness, in our image. And now people have gone to the bottom of the darkness. Now, let me say this real quick. Earth has never had a problem with darkness. Darkness is not the problem. It's the lack of light, the lack of understanding. John 1:4 says what? In him was life, and the life that was in him became the light of men. So man living in darkness is only because he's not turned on the light. And some feel, why change? Things are okay. I'll just continue. Yet they have lowered themselves to a depth that even he mentions animals. That's how far man has decreased in the very image. And yet, I'll end with this and let you take a shot at this. The awesomeness of the parables in Luke 15. Now, I've mentioned this before, but today it was just highlighted.
Yes.
The lost sheep, the lost coin, the lost son. We've told you before, you cannot be lost until you first belonged. Now, the son that was in the pig pen, and I love this, Henry. The Lord began to show me, yeah, look, that pig pen can be different things in different lives. It can be one of drugs, one of pornography, whatever. But whatever the pig pen is, you've lowered yourself down to an animal that we already know, a pig.
Yeah.
Eats in the mud and everything else. Anyway, but whatever the pig pen is that people have made for themselves, it was there that son was reminded of his father's house. I look at it this way, Henry. Every single one of us, in the darkest times of our life, that light is shining forth. And if we just break off of that laziness, that slothfulness, and say, Lord, and I've been hearing this more and more, people saying, I don't believe in you. But if you're real, tell me something. And testimony after testimony, because they don't understand he's always been there. Creation itself is vivid enough. Any person that you see, and again, that's why our evangelism needs to change. Quit looking at the people's pig pen and start releasing the light to the son or the daughter that is bound. And that's where it all begins. So again, the very power of image, we have to learn to see the image of that person, regardless of their pig pen, and bring them to the point of their origin, that they've been sons and daughters from the get-go. Amen?
Amen.
Go ahead, brother.
It's funny, not funny, but the interesting point about the pig pen, and it's moving the mindset of people that you think just because you're in the pig pen, you disqualify yourself, just like what the prodigal son did. The idea is that we have to make them understand, and by way of confession, that they might be in the pig pen, but they actually belong in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
along, and not being servants or slaves, but being sons and daughters,
Yeah.
right? And so you were talking earlier about how they converted the worship from God the Creator to animals.
Yeah.
The very thing that man has been given dominion over,
Yeah.
man gave dominion to those gods and called them gods to have dominion over them.
Yeah.
And so now people go walk around saying, a snake, a serpent has dominion over their lives, a four-footed beast, creeping things, fish, you name it, that all of those things have dominion over their life. So they gave that up, just
Yeah.
like what Adam did
Yeah.
in the garden. And so man is losing their purpose now. And so when we talk about purpose, then purpose produces image. In other words, Proverbs tells me that a good name is better, right, than rubies and riches, and
Yeah.
and a good name spoken for is a whole lot better than all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Growing up, my dad said, as a little boy, he says, you are a porter, therefore you represent not just you, but your name.
Yeah.
And then it stuck. It stuck in my mom did the same thing. She told me your middle name which is her, last name. Growing up, she had that last name. She said, you are, in Spanish, it's Huizar. You are a Huizar. And, through me, you are a porter through your dad. So you have these two names that you have to have a reputation about, right? And so and of course, because of our lineage of where we come from, the porters were Methodist missionaries that came in from Ireland, and the Huizares were rock. Um, they were huge sculptors, right? Sculptors of rock. They ended up in Mission San Jose, the Alamo, and so that's what they did. They sculpted out, the entire facade of Mission San Jose, Mission Concepcion, Espada, and my sixth generation grandfather on that side, on my mom's side, actually was the land surveyor and architect of the Alamo. When you see the Alamo, that came from this is where I come
Wow.
from. And so she said, this is your name, therefore guard it, take care of it. Of course, I didn't know, neither did they. So name has a great purpose, right?
Yeah.
My name is Henry, which means ruler. My last name is Porter, which means servant or doorkeeper. So I have that, that combination of being a ruler, yet I'm a servant, or a doorkeeper or a gatekeeper, whatever. But the idea is that when you come out from the origin of where we come from, then the purpose of that name supersedes everything on this earth. His name is Father. His son is Jesus. And he became the Son of God, became the Son of Man, so that we too can identify with him and be able to do exactly as he did while he was on this earth.
Yeah.
And of course, we understand that man has taken that image and corrupted it. They have corrupted the name of God. They have corrupted the name of Christ. And they have no idea where they're going. They're aimless. They have absolutely no aim where they're heading to. They've got no goals, they've got no agendas. They have, they're clueless of what direction they're going towards. Our job in our ministry is to take people and allow them to understand whatever you do, don't lose your confidence. Don't throw away your confidence, but don't lose your confession. Your confession that you have given your life to Christ, then that confession makes you like Christ. Because that whole confession is that you have then become a son or a daughter of the Most High God. And that'll lead you then to investigate, how can I become more like him? So as we venture into our walk in this world, and as mature people, we have to take the immature and cause them to, to become good to hear rather than dull to hear. When you get to the point of dull of hearing, you find out that they're in need of sincere milk continuously rather than meat. And it's like I make the statement, you're only young once, but you can be immature for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is part of what we're supposed to do with with everybody around us, that we have been God has given us stewardship to steward people's mindsets, allow them to grow into their understanding that they are made in this image, and this image is the dominant image of the entire universe. And I guess I'll never be able to overemphasize that we belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. This is out of Hebrews chapter 12. We belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And 12:29 and 30 states that, for we are all consuming, for God is an all-consuming fire.
Mm-hmm.
When we then start talking this language, then we need to produce into their hearing what the reality of the image is. Image with purpose. There is a reason why he selected you. One,
Mm-hmm.
while you're on this earth, but there is a reason why he sent you to this earth.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're here. And you did not, as Pastor said, you did not come on your own. He sent you. There's a purpose for that.
Yeah.
And when you find that purpose, you realize, okay, so he sent me here for a reason, then I need to fulfill that reason and that purpose, not for myself or for anybody else, but for the one who sent me. Isn't that what Jesus said in John chapter 5, verse 30? I cannot do anything on my own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In my own initiative, he said, I can't do anything. But whatever he tells me to do, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's what I need to
Mm-hmm.
do. So if you're here for a reason and a purpose, you have been sent here by him for a reason and a purpose, then you have to investigate, what is that reason? Why am I here? Why am I here for? And once that I'm here, so in discipleship, right? And what we're supposed to do for our people is we have to train them to hear God like Adam heard God in the cool of the day. Whether if it was through a language, verbal, or how about telepathy, where mind speaks to mind with no words whatsoever. Isn't that how God speaks to us sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
I know he does to me. When I started practicing the first thought principle on hearing the voice of God, it was at first it was just audible. I mean, he audible for, a year and a half of nothing but hearing God and Jesus in an audible fashion. That's all I did. And then he started training me to listen to that still small voice. And then from there, I went to the thought form, where he told me, if you have given me your entire life, mind, soul, and spirit, then therefore that's how I'm going to talk to you, through your mind, through your soul, and through your spirit. So now realize then that as I walked, then as I ministered prophetically, and you remember, clearly people were brought in front of me, and you always challenge that. You said, Brother Henry, these people need to hear from God. Tell them what God is saying. And that would be spoken over their lives. And it wasn't that I was hearing thunder or, the still small voice even within me. It was the first thought that came to mind. And I released that thought. And from that moment on, it was a river of revelation. So we get there, and we have to train our people to do the same thing. Listen to what the Spirit of God is saying. Not only listen, but more importantly, hear what the Spirit of God is saying, right? You want to tweak your mental ear, your mindset ear, your spiritual ear, to hear what he is saying. When we do that, then our image then is carved out, molded, shaped into a greater reflection of who he is. And that's my purpose. That's our purpose. How do we steward that as we see that, like for instance, in the parables of Luke 15, where you find, we it was the lost coin, the lost son, and what was it?
The sheep.
The lost sheep. Yeah, that principle. How do we steward that? That you as a pastor know this, that when somebody's not coming to church for a few Sundays, you realize something's wrong, and there you go. You call them and you tell them, "Hey, is everything all right? What's up?" And they, we know this, and from pastoral love, that we need to reach out to everybody and make sure that everybody's doing good. And in there we find that we didn't touch them, and we steward that we are shepherding the people, that they know that we know that you have a purpose about you. That's why you need to be around the other sheep. So we reach out and grab them, and that's love. I had a question brought up to me today by a friend of ours, and he said, can you love the unlovable? He said, if you can love the unlovable, he says, you become more like your father, because he loves everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, explain that to me. He says, well, say that you're in a parking lot and you do have an individual that is yelling at your face, or in a store or somewhere. And that individual just yelling at you, and you look at that individual, and at that moment you don't want to love him. Well, he says, well, God will love that individual regardless. Or how about a homeless individual that is dirty, teeth crooked and yellow and stained and hair out of place, and they smell bad? Can you love that individual just like God loves them?
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes further and further, because now it doesn't have to be that individual. It could be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that can cross you, different in your thinking, or rubs against you in a way that it irritates you. Are you willing to love that person regardless? So the question was, can you love the unlovable? Those that people don't love, are you willing to love them? If you can do that, then you have become like your father.
Mm-hmm.
Then that image right there that he painted in my head, of course, it was one of those moments that I thought, man, how am I going to wash this out of my brain? Because we're not there yet. For if we were, we would not be, just the norm in life. We would actually be out there looking for them constantly. Can I go reach the unlovable?
Mm-hmm.
Those that man does not want, man does not love. Can we be that individual for them? And the purpose and the image, what God has put into order and has released toward us, with our eyes and with our ears and with our hearts, can we present his image to everybody around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's that part, that purpose, where then you realize the just then that lives by faith, these righteous people that can live by faith, then therefore we are these righteous people that do walk and talk, and we live by this faith, saying that regardless of what they look like, I'm going to please God, because without faith it's impossible to please him. So then therefore I'm going to please him by managing and stewarding as much as I can my heart to love the unlovable and to reach what people will consider the unreachable.
Mm-hmm.
And go after, as the minute that you hear about a son in the pig pen, is my thinking was years ago was, I don't want to be a prodigal father. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
I want to be there for these kind of sons.
Yeah.
And we generations have gone by where a lot of our young men have fathers absent from their homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of daughters have fathers absent from their homes. And then they look different places to see how can I fill my heart with that, with something. And they look for bad images.
Yeah.
And it's like somebody who marries somebody that's continuously, abusing them. It's like a cycle. It's a cycle, and you try to get them off of that,
Yeah.
And it's because in their mindset, they see image, and this is all they know, because the light has not been turned on yet to see this,
Yeah.
to see the Father, right? Albert Einstein said that it's not that there's darkness exists because of the absence of light. He said the minute that you turn the light switch on, then darkness is displaced, he said. And the same thing goes in the spiritual world. The minute that Jesus comes in and flips the light switch on, darkness is displaced, and all you have nothing but light. And that image of light then produces that illumination that we look after. As Ephesians states that the eyes of their understanding will be enlightened. That phosphorus moment, that from the Greek, that phosphoros, that's the Latin phosphoros likewise, and we get into our Spanish, English language, which is phosphorus, that thing that ignites magnesium, that I like the matchstick,
Yeah.
And so when we teach people then that they must reach forth toward the spirit of understanding to get enlightened. How do we transfer that to our hearers and our children? And the idea about revelation, you and I both learned that revelation is better caught than taught, because we can teach revelation all day long.
Yeah.
But less people catch it, then it's just words. It's a lot of information. And so how to put into order, into the mindsets of people, image, the image of where we came, where did we come from,
Yeah.
and what is our purpose, and then we have to put our hands over their shoulders and teach them by way of the word of the Lord. Here, this is it. This is where you come from, and this is where you're going.
Yeah.
And therefore, and everything in between there is that your purpose is to look like this. And we need, and by way of instruction then, and even though if it at first it's going to be spoon feeding, but yet the stewardship part of all of that is that, eventually it'll go deep into their heart, into the belly, into the gut of the individual, and it will become manna in there that will revive them, that will, oh my goodness, it'll do all kinds of, it'll do everything that it needs to do to produce the right image in there. And so Christ then left us that example. We know that everything he did was to point us to the Father. As he told us, I've come to show you the Father. I've come to show you the Father. And then he gets to John 17, verse 3, where, and this is eternal life, that you may know God the Father and the Son whom he has sent. Eternal life. Our identity depends on the knowledge of God and Christ, and that's where we get our image from, our eternal image right there.
Yeah. Henry, before we close up for tonight, I was thinking this thought on the same thing of the parable of Luke 15, the prodigal son. Now, when he's in that dilemma, he finally realized how good it was in his father's house. But I was thinking, why did he leave the father's house to begin with? He could not understand. So our origin, if we've all started from the Father's house, and somehow we leave when we're here on this earth by identifying with other things.
Yeah.
That's what he did. So all he wanted was his inheritance. But it fit his father's house is what finally, triggered him up. Why did he ever leave? He didn't understand. Now, understanding is the main thing. Wisdom builds the house, but in all that you get understanding. So he comes to the point, comes to him, in my father's house, the servants have it better than me. So he rehearses the whole thing, going back. But if we notice again, why did he ever leave? So our origin was in the Father's house. He gives us life, and we don't understand how good it is from where we come from, our origin. So finally, when we reach our pig pen, as soon as that happens, religion is there to pick us up. Because religion doesn't matter to religion if you believe in this Jesus. But as soon as you start believing that you are like him, religion steps in and says, no, you're going too far. You can believe in him, but we don't want you to believe that you're like him. So here's the son saying, now, I'll go to my father's house. I'll ask him to let me just be a servant. So we come, and what he suppresses is finally removed, and we come into some church setting or whatever, and we try to become servants. But the father stopped and said, son, I got a robe, a ring, and shoes that have been waiting for you. You're not going to be a servant. You never have been. You've always been a son. So somehow when we repent or ask for forgiveness, religion will move in. Religion does not want you to understand your image.
Good point.
So people are still bound by their religion because their religion does not allow them to have the definition of image on their life. So what we're talking about tonight is that image has already created us sons and daughters. You don't have to do absolutely anything. It was given. But the most important thing is this. Now let me with this. Not only are you here by reason, looking for that purpose, but in your image of the 8 billion souls that walk the earth this very hour, there's only one of you. It's not another. Only one. That's how special that you and I are. When we understand that, we'll break off of that religious spirit, understand how the individual that we are and the image that we carry, and it'll change your whole world, your whole mindset.
It will. Yeah, absolutely.
So again, if the son made the claim, in my father's house, why did he ever leave? Just give me my inheritance. He spends it because he lost the image of being the son. He didn't learn that from his father.
No.
So he wanted him to return like a servant, like a slave. The father said, you'll never be a slave.
Yeah.
You're my son forevermore. Yeah. So again, saints, the power of image. Yes, inheritance. Yes, promises. All those things are true. And I believe in all of those things. But it all starts with image. Understand your origin comes from the very image of your Father which is in heaven. That's why Jesus came to restore that which was lost. What was lost was not Adam. What was lost was the image. Because you are a king or a queen on this earth. And even creation, Romans 8:19, knows the image that you bear. So Romans 8:19 says, and eagerly awaiting for the awakening of the sons of God, which in the Greek means the weos, the mature ones. The ocean's waiting for someone to walk on the water. It's telling, come on in. I know who you are, but do you? Creation is subject
Very good point.
unto us. I've been before a growling dog ready to bite me and say, in the name of Jesus, you will not move. And it didn't touch me. I've come out and spoken to storms. And somehow, I'll go back on the weather report in the news. It says somehow, we told you the direction, it somehow zoomed up to the east, to the west. It missed us entirely. And I'm not boasting. I'm just saying because of the image. So saints, I pray you're getting something out of this series of teachings. But remember again, there is power in image. And creation knows it. And he's waiting for you and I to wake up and take our rightful place. Amen. Till next time, saints, God bless.